Hello and welcome to our IG Live. I'm excited to be talking to our friend and supporter and wonderful author, Maria Wen Adcock. Hello. And I'm trying out using these AirPods to see if it helps improve sound quality, but if it doesn't, please let me know. But we're excited to be talking to Maria because she is we've been so excited at her success because, like I said, she has been such a long time supporter. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yes, I'm glad to have you here. Like I said, you've been such a long time supporter. It's that we're so excited for your success and well deserved. I mean, we had you on, can't remember if it was maybe last year or was it, how long has it been since your other book came out?
It was 2023, so not
2020.
not
Oh
so
my
long
gosh,
ago, but
not too
yes.
long ago. But yeah, that was, it's Chinese New Year, Curious George. And now you have a completely different book, although
Yeah.
some of the themes might be somewhat similar about diversity and inclusion, which anyway, your new book is My Name is Ai Lin. So we're excited to have you back on here. And I also just want to mention for anybody who's missed it, we are giving away a copy, or I should say, Maria is giving away a copy of her book very generously. So make sure to go and look at our pinned post so you can enter the giveaway. It ends tonight, Thursday, midnight Eastern, so don't miss out. But Maria, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm very happy to be here. I'm actually very honored. I'm so glad that we can talk again about my books.
Yes, and so many great ideas and themes to dig into. But first, if we can back up and just for those who haven't read it yet, because it did just launch, tell us about your book and what was the inspiration behind it.
Okay, great. So as you mentioned, the book just launched on July 1st, so a few days ago. I got my author copy, so I'm very excited about that. There were actually several reasons or several inspirations for this book. First was just the general, I knew so many people who had names that were perhaps more unique, not as common in American culture, and a lot of times their name changed once they were here. Now, sometimes they wanted to. It was their choice. Other times, other people wanted to change it, such as in my book with the character Ai Lin. They found it hard to pronounce, so they wanted to make it easier for themselves. And other times, like with the case of my father, when he came to the United States in the 60s, he had a Chinese name, but he doesn't anymore because when he went to their processing center, they picked a name for him, an American name. So he did not have a say in it, and his Chinese name no longer officially exists. So, there's so many stories like that. For this book, I wanted to empower Ai Lin to have a say in her name, literally a say in it. So when someone wanted to change it, she was like, no, this is my name. In terms of the other inspirations, Ai Lin is actually the name of my oldest daughter, the Chinese name of my oldest daughter. So this is Ai Lin, and if you ever see a picture of my daughter when she was around this age, she actually looks like her, has her hair in a barrette too, so that was really nice. And
Which we should mention that you have that on your blog. If people want to go look, you have the photo there, which
I
is really
do.
wonderful.
You can see the real life Ai Lin, also the real life Ai Mei, who's the little sister who's mentioned in
Mm-hmm.
there. So before they were born, what we do in Chinese culture is like you want a Chinese name that has meaning. And so it's not just how nice it sounds, how popular a name is, it has to have some deep meaning. So traditionally you would often talk to your elders, so your parents or your grandparents, for suggestions, for example. So I asked my parents, can you come up with some suggestions? And they came up with different combinations, uh, different sounding names, different meaning names. And my husband and I landed on Ai Lin because Ai means love in Chinese,
I love that.
and Lin means gem. So you put it together, Ai Lin means lovely gem. So
That's gorgeous.
we really like that name. Another thing that is traditional is sometimes by the generation there is a same first part of a name. So for example, me and my siblings, we all have the word Ying in our name. So I'm Ying Shin, and then my siblings had Ying something else, and that ties your generation together. So you know you're all in that same same generation. So there's that other layer of meaning too. In terms of Ai Lin and Ai Mei, the I means love, like I mentioned, and it ties them together as the same generation, but I also wanted them to be tied together like literally in love, right? With love, because it's in their name. So that was the inspiration and the cultural reasons behind it too.
I love that, and I just love that connection. I mean, the idea of being connected in your generation, but also that they're connected with love. That's just so beautiful. And I love how the Chinese naming tradition also reflects other things that are important in Chinese culture, like respect for elders and being so thoughtful about, you know, usually like names for things have so much meaning. You know, there are often layers of meanings to things. So I just think that's so beautiful. But I just have to mention something that's interesting about your book is that Ai Lin is actually not difficult for an English speaker to pronounce. You know, you can see other people coming from different languages. Sometimes they are sounds that maybe we don't have or are not as familiar, but Ai Lin is actually very simple. And yet English speakers stumble over it just because we're not familiar with it, or it's not a name that we've heard before. So that's one of the aspects of your book that I find so interesting, is that people have so much trouble with their name, but it's really not difficult. You know, it's actually a very easy name to pronounce, I think.
Yeah, it's just maybe, as you mentioned, something they've never heard of before.
Right.
It's two words, which is not always common in the English language unless it's like, you know, Mary Jane or something like that, but even that's not as common anymore. So the spelling, if you see the spelling, sometimes that trips people up too. So she was named before AI, as in artificial intelligence, became a thing, and now it's like everywhere, and it's like, how do you pronounce it? It's I, not AI, like not like artificial intelligence, but yes.
I didn't even think about that. That's funny.
Yes.
And is it also the case that I thought I had heard that a lot of times, at least here, people have a Chinese name and an English name, right?
Yes.
So she has, so like your daughters, for example, have English names as well as their Chinese names. Is that right?
That is correct. So they have their English name, they have their Chinese names. You know, I don't mention their English names on, you know, my blog or anywhere else, just to, you know, protect their identities.
Right.
But I will use their Chinese names, and I have several times, sometimes in newspaper or media where it's like really out there, I will use their Chinese name just because on their birth certificate, it is their English name as their first name, and their Chinese name is actually their middle name.
Oh, right.
So it is officially on there, but in terms of identifiers, yeah, that's what I do, protect them.
That's very smart. So the girl in the story, she does a wonderful job of teaching people how to pronounce her name and teaching them why it's so important. How can your book help kids that are struggling with this? Because it is so hard for a lot of kids to advocate for themselves, especially when they're quite young. How does your book help them kind of learn how to do that?
Well, I hope it would inspire them to and empower them to stand up for their names. If they want to keep their name and say it that way, then it's okay to do that and insist, no, that's my name. You know, it's just, if you think about it, it's kind of weird if someone starts calling you the wrong name. So, for example, you know, my name is Maria. Sometimes people say Marie, and it's close, but then I'm thinking like, well, my name is, I'm not Marie. That's so, you know. So, but if you can imagine, that's even like much more of a change if your name is Ai Lin, and they're saying, oh, how about just call you Eileen, or, you know, something else completely different.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it will empower them. Just a little history that when I was younger, people did not know how to say my middle name, and sometimes even my last name. My middle name was hyphenated, which was in itself different. It was
Right.
Yingshen. And that's definitely something where if you say it, people are like, what was that again?
Mm-hmm.
How do you spell that? And how you spell it would be like even harder for them to figure out.
Right.
And so I didn't tell people my name because also as a kid, you don't want to be different. You want to fit in.
Right.
So I wanted Island to be empowered that it's okay because I was not feeling that way when I was younger.
Right. Right. I love that you are bringing to this your own, not just, you've mentioned the story of your daughters, but your own experience that you've gone through this and know how hard it can be for kids, especially like you said, kids really want to fit in. They don't want to stand out or be weird, right? With the other students, especially because a lot of times it's the teachers who are not making the effort, but of course, we know there are a lot of teachers that want to be more inclusive, that want to have really welcoming classrooms. How can they use your book, or what other tips would you have for teachers who want to create a really welcome, inclusive classroom?
Well, one of the first things I would say is in the beginning of the school year, when everyone's learning each other's names and you're going down the roster of names, if you don't know how to say a name, it's okay to ask the
Hmm.
student, how do you pronounce it? And then they tell you, and you can say it back. And it also mirrors for the other children how to say the name, and that it's also
Right.
okay to ask. So I like that modeling there. Also, with the book itself, it just brings a lot of social awareness, social emotional awareness, empathy, and just an understanding of different classmates' names. It's great for back to school when we're learning everyone's new names, and
Sure.
some of them may not be, as common as others. And it's okay. It's okay to ask questions, and it's definitely okay to make an effort to try to say the name correctly and not
Right.
change it.
Right. I love that aspect about how the teachers could be modeling respectful curiosity, or
Hmm.
that it's okay that they're learning too, that they're modeling. I like that idea. They're modeling it for the students, even just asking how to pronounce their names. And of course, like as you mentioned, this is a great book for people to share at the beginning
Hmm.
of the school year. Either parents can share with their kids to kind of help them be prepared for school, or obviously teachers to read with their class at the beginning of the school year.
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. And I know you talked about how Ai Lin is actually the Chinese name of your older daughter, who's now a teen, and you have your younger sister, the younger sister I May, in the book. What did they think about the book and their connection to it?
Well, it's interesting. You're a mom too. A lot of us are, and your children just see you as mom, right? That's how they
Right.
know you. You may have this other life, but they don't really see that as much. So they are happy they're in the book, but
Hmm.
it is like it's mom.
Yeah.
It's just mom. And so I'm really glad that like I have a book launch party next Saturday at Huntington Public Library, and my children are going there. And I'm
Mm.
really excited about that because they have a chance to see what does mom do
Right.
outside of momming, right?
Hmm.
This is mom's other life, her job. They'll see me presenting,
Hmm.
and I organized the whole thing with the library. So there's just like a whole other aspect outside of the home, right?
Right.
Which is what
Right.
they're used to. So I think that's going to be a really great experience for them.
Yeah, I'm sure that is, like you said, a lot of times kids don't think about their parents existing outside of their relationship to you. So that'll be great. I think especially for girls to see their mom doing something and, in a professional way and having an identity other than just wife and mother is really important. So that's really great. Are they excited to see themselves in the book, or do you think that they haven't really grasped what it meant yet? Maybe they will more after this book
I,
launch.
I don't think it's really hit them. Like I've mentioned it,
Mm,
like, hey, isn't it great? You're in a book. This is you and stuff.
right,
But I think when it's actually we're at the launch party.
right.
I have a presentation. It's going to be put up on the big screen. I'm going to be stopping along the way. I'm going to be pointing them out. The real life Island and the real life I May.
Right.
I think it'll hit then.
Sure. Right, right. Um, I'm curious about the illustration process. That's something I love to talk to authors about because people can have really different experiences with it depending on how you're publishing. Sometimes people work directly with the illustrator. Sometimes they have virtually no contact. What was your experience like? Especially, I understand that they showed you drafts of the illustrations ahead of time because they wanted to be really careful about the cultural aspects, which I thought was really amazing.
Yes. So the involvement with the artist, a lot of it depends on the process that you're taking. If you're doing traditional publishing versus self-publishing. If you are doing traditional publishing, what is standard is that the author is minimally involved because the publisher is the one who hires the illustrator, finds the fit for the tone of the book that they want, and they have an art director. So that's their job, that's their expertise. And at some point, the author is pulled in to look at the sketches, to look at the final illustrations. Now, if you self-publish, you're in control of the whole situation because you're paying for the whole situation, right? You're paying for your own book and stuff, so you choose your own illustrator, and you are the art director too. You can tell them, okay, on this page, I want this scene to be happening and so forth. In traditional publishing, when we submit our manuscripts, we typically do not tell the artist how to do their job, right? Because it's not our job. The only time we would put art notes in our manuscript would be if the text itself is not conveying everything because it's not as obvious. Because in picture books, the pictures tell much of the story too, right?
So like if there's any ambiguity.
Yeah, so you want to show, not tell. And so once in a while, if you put in an art note because that's the only way to make clear what's happening, that's okay. But that's about it. So in terms of my book, with My Name Is Ai Lin, during the process, I was shown initial sketches of what the characters would look like. And I love the sketches. I was familiar with the artist's work. Her name is Ting Cheng. I had seen her website, so I knew her style. And I knew that the publisher had said they had purposely chose her style because of the softness of the way that she drew really fit with the tone of the book, which was also, you know, soft too. And I really loved her style. So when I saw the sketches and I saw Ai Lin, and by coincidence, Ai Lin had the barrette in her hair, kind of like how my daughter was when she was that age. I think that's perfect.
So that was just a coincidence that she happened to
That was a total coincidence. I did not send any pictures of my family, my children. And then I gave some feedback. Then later on down the line, I saw more flushed out sketches. And I could provide some feedback. You know, it wasn't like I was saying, the mom has to look this way, the scene has to change. No, that's not my job. It was more for clarity, whether it's the cultural aspect or once in a while there might have been something like, oh, I'm not sure what the dad is holding, what is in the hand. Can we make it more clear? You know, something like that. And then at the end of the process, I saw the colors. The sketches became full color illustrations. And at that point, that's pretty much done. I mean, there shouldn't be any huge changes. That if there were any huge changes, that would have been more in the beginning of the process. And then that's it. So that was the amount of involvement with me, the author, and the illustrator. But the great thing is now that, you know, the book is out there, she and I have been in touch a lot via Instagram. We're tagging each other in our promotions and really supporting each other. And I really love that aspect of our working relationship.
Oh, I love that. And especially the fact that you're able to kind of have this relationship now that the book is out and be so supportive of each other. What was it like to get to see those sketches, you know, and to see the book, especially once it fully came to life with the color and everything? What was that like to see that?
Well, it makes it real. You know, before it's all conceptual, it's just words on the paper. And the artist's job is to bring it to life with their interpretation of what your story is. And so it brought it to life visually. And it's just an amazing feeling to see your concepts of your work that a long time ago were just little seeds of ideas, and then you put in,
Right.
made a manuscript, and then now it's like, wow, full color illustrations, and then when you actually get your book and you're holding it,
Yes.
hard copy, you're like, wow, this is for real.
That must be such a special moment to finally get your author copies.
Yes, definitely.
Well, we have a couple minutes. I was wondering if we could back up a little bit and you could talk to us generally about your writing process. I mean, we've been focused on this book, so it could be about this book in particular or just in general when you're writing, because this is your second published book, but I know you mentioned you've written a lot of manuscripts. What is your process like? Do you kind of write something and then put it away for a while? Do you chip away at it over a long period of time, or how do you do that?
Well, sometimes it's a little of both. Usually it starts with a kernel of an idea. And I will write general notes because I don't want to forget it. I'll write general notes on a document on my computer, and eventually I go back and I flush it through. Now, a lot of times, the way I think a story is going to go, it doesn't go that way once I'm actually writing it. Some people, they outline exactly what's going to happen, and because they know. For me, it doesn't work as much that way. I have my ideas, but when I'm actually writing it, a lot of times the story starts going this way or that way,
Right.
and it works, but I wasn't expecting it. But sometimes that's what creates those really great story moments. That's just
Okay.
where a story takes you.
Right. I
Yeah,
love
so
that.
I do a lot of that way.
I love that. I think that's really fun for viewers to get a peek into that the creative process, because I think for us as readers, sometimes I'm always curious, the story behind the story. So I love that. And congratulations on your book launch. This is so exciting. For your second book, like we mentioned, the first book is it's Chinese New Year, Curious George, and now we have My Name Is Ai Lin. So congratulations. Everybody should go out and get their copies. And if you don't want to do that and you want to try and win a copy, we've got you covered there, but you have to enter by today, that's this Thursday, midnight Eastern, and I will draw a winner, a random winner on Friday, tomorrow. And we'll announce that. US addresses only. Go to our pin post. You can see how to enter. It's very easy and should just take you a couple of minutes, and you could be our winner of a physical copy of My Name Is Ai Lin. Maria, thank you for joining us. It's always so much fun to talk with you.
Great, and I just want to say it is a signed copy. I will sign it and I will
Oh,
send it. So
amazing.
enter the giveaway. Okay.
Even more special. Thank you so much for that. And thank you all for watching. If you joined us late, as always, this will be up on Instagram in a few minutes, and later I'll have it up on our YouTube channel if you prefer that. So bye, everybody. Bye, Maria.
Bye. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.